Yet, how can we talk of justice and the needs of the state while we stand and watch this unendurable sight? My eyes will have their way and weep, seeing Antigone, like a young bride, going to her bedchamber to marry the dead and share their everlasting sleep.
In all my wanderings, gentlemen, this place has been my home. I was born in this city, and now I begin my last journey. I look up at the sun in its familiar sky and feel its warmth on my face, only to say goodbye. In the daytime of my life, in mid-breath, this security policeman, Death, arrests me, as he arrests everyone, young and old, at home or in the street. To the cold waters of darkness we come, never to return across that silent river. No wedding for me, no music, no guests in the room. My wedding gift is eternity in a stone tomb. My dowry, forever not to be, Death, my bridegroom.
But your action is famous. In every street mouths whisper Antigone. You go down to the dead with the promise of glory ringing in your head, and nothing to devalue your beauty. No sword has scarred you. Plague visited, unmarked, untouched. You pass from the dangerous light into the safety of eternal night, alive, alone, and free.
Do you remember the sad story of Tantalus's daughter? She was a stranger from Phrygia, unmarried, like me, in danger, like mine. She was sentenced to die on the rock of Syphilis, and there was no glory for her, only the endless shock of the elements and the terrible place where she was imprisoned. The mountains embraced like fingers of ivy, tying her down, enclosing, entombing her, and she all alone while the snows blinded her and the freezing rain whipped her to rags and exposed her pain to the naked sky. What bitter tears she shed as she slowly turned to stone, and the gray rock petrified her by inches, and she died. Her story is mine. Today I shall share her rocky bed.
But she was a goddess, not born for death like the children of men, whose desperate mortality is their only certainty. Will it soothe your pain to share her destiny? Or soften your distress, as alive in the earth you draw your last breath, to live on in legend and in stone?
This is mockery. By everything the city of our fathers has ever held sacred, you landowners, you elder statesmen, you rulers of Thebes, my dying is no joke. Am I to figure of fun? To be treated like a child, insulted and humiliated as I leave you forever? Then forests and meadows and our Theban river, glittering pathway ceaselessly flowing, from Dirce's death till now, flat lands thundering beneath our chariots. You must be my witnesses, my only friends and mourners. As victimized by an unjust law, I go to my last home, in the living tomb, to wait while the slow darkness descends, cold and starving on my stony bed, halfway between the living and the dead.
No one has ever dared to go so far before as you have dared to go. Now you have stumbled and stubbed your toe and will shortly shed your blood on the marble staircase of the law. You carry your father's crimes like a milestone on your back. Small wonder in such times if the bones bend or break.
Nothing more painful than that. The remembrance of my father's long agony and the curse on my suffering family from the beginning. So much grief from the unlucky chance of the son finding the mother's bed, and worse than anything, the benighted offspring of that unspeakable marriage. And I, with the others, share that terrible destiny conceived in incest. No repentance can soften the punishment. The years pass, the agonies increase, and there is no pity for our tears. No marriage for me, for certain. I shall close that book forever as I meet my father and mother in the shades. The weddings will cease. Marriage to the woman of Argos finished my brother and finished me too. One death breeds another.
To pay respect to the dead is praiseworthy, an act of love, and religion must have its due. But no civilized state can issue authority. Laws must be obeyed, whether we approve or disapprove. If you refuse to sanction the power of the state, by indulging your obsession, you connive at your own fate.
Spare me your sympathy. Weep no false tears. I know the path that I must follow. To the sunless country of eternal sorrow, to the bleak waters of eternity, the unimaginable years. No grief where none is felt. I shall go alone, and in silence to my house of stone.
If death could be prevented by singing arias about it, or other self-indulgent displays of grief, this performance would go on forever, I've no doubt. But I've had enough of it. Take her away. Lock her up in her stone vault with half a mountain for a roof, then brick up the door. Let her die there if she chooses. Or if she prefers, let her stay alive in her grave, why not? Because the grave's the only fit place for her. Solitary confinement among the dead. Whatever she does, there will be no guilt on me or on the state. Her death's her own, but there's no place for her among the living.
To my grave, then. My honeymoon bed, my prison, my crypt under the mountain, my home for the rest of time. I shall meet so many of my relations there. We shall be guests of the sad-faced queen of the shadows, Persephone, in that bleak hotel that is never short of a room. I'm the last, the unhappiest, I think, and the youngest booking in too soon. But my father will be there to meet me at the door. My mother will smile and hug me close, as she always did, and my brother, he will be glad to see me more than all the rest. At each fresh grave, my hand sprinkled the earth. At each I poured the purifying water and made offerings. And for my beloved Polynices, whose broken body I set to rest, I am rewarded with a shameful death. My mother and father are dead. There will be no more brothers. Never again. My love had to speak at Polynices' grave or nowhere. And for that crime, my dearest brother, Creon sentences me to death, drags me here, and will shut me away in a cavern under the mountain, a living death in silence, in darkness, and solitude. I shall die unmarried. All those pleasures denied me, and motherhood denied too. No children to love me. To love, and now no friends. What moral law have I broken? What eternal truths have I denied, yet now not even a God can help me? And there's no man who will. How can there be when common decency has become a crime? Oh, let them be punished as I have been punished, and suffer this injustice that I have suffered.
She hasn't changed even now. The anger inside her still blows like a hurricane.
The sooner she's got rid of, shut up, out of harm's way, and forgotten, the better. Tell those guards to get a move on or they will regret it.
That word is my death.
And now it is spoken. Don't comfort yourself with hope. There's none.
This is the land of my fathers. Thebes, built by a god. You see, senators, my time has run out. There is no more left. I am the last of the royal blood, a daughter of kings, and I die his victim, unjustly for upholding justice and the humanity of humankind.
Others have suffered, my child, like you. Upon Danae, too, the same dreadful sentence was passed. Far from the light of day in a tower of brass, she was shut away, and that one single room, both prison and tomb, became her wedding chamber at last. Like you, she was a child of kings. Yet in her womb, the semen of Zeus, descending in a golden shower, made a mockery of the brazen tower. Fate has its own momentum. When things must be, they will be. What use is power in the state, or wealth, massive armies, an unsinkable fleet? Gods make their entrances by strength or stealth, and no tomb or tower can keep them out. And the arrogant king Lycurgus discovered wisdom when he angered the god Dionysus with his railing. That proud Edonian king was punished with madness, and long imprisoned in a rocky cell to endure the private and particular hell of lunacy, until the healing silence soothed and reordered his brain. He learned there the terrible power of the god he had challenged. Ecstasy is beyond man's understanding, a mystery deeper than reason, which overcomes pain and seeks truth in intoxication and terror. Only a fool would attempt to stop the Maenads in full flight, or silence their ecstatic singing. The sleep of reason is not darkness, but another kind of light. And where the gloomy rocks divide the seas in Thrace, by the Bosporus, the savage god Ares laughed to see the sons of Phineus blinded with a spindle. Nothing could placate their vengeful stepmother's hate. Her bloody needle darkened their eyes forever, blinding the children, as the gods had blinded their father. From their mother's wedding day, their destiny was settled. Their wasted lives they wept away in sightless misery. Yet she was descended from the gods. In the echoing caves of the north wind, she hallowed as a child, and upon the open mountainside she ran wild with the horses. A man's fate is determined, will not be denied. The child Antigone pays for the parents' pride.